Hey everyone, welcome to episode 261, Underbelly Parenting. Welcome to the Harmony in the Home podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Hutchison. I'm a counselor, a life coach, and most importantly, an imperfect mom doing this work right along with you. And my goal on our podcast is to go from chaos to calm, feel less frazzled, and have more fun within your four walls to have more harmony in your home. You probably see these titles and you're like, what in the world? I never know if I should include in the titles like what the actual show is about or make it tricky and make it kind of intriguing and like, I wonder what that's all about. So let me know what you prefer. So Underbelly Parenting is from kind of like what we talked about all the time on our podcast. I say our because if I did not have you listening to the podcast, it would just be me sitting in my closet by myself, talking to myself. So I call it our podcast because you guys help me so much with the ideas, what you're struggling with, what's working for you, what's not working for you. And a lot of you resonate with the B- parenting. A lot of you resonate with the flossom in life, how we're all flawed and we're all awesome, and how we're all awesome and annoying. Everyone in your family is awesome and they're annoying at the same time. Like both can exist at the same time. And our brain likes to go to the black and white thinking of like a child is all good or all bad. A spouse is all good or all bad. Or we are all good or all bad. And when we can live in the gray that both can exist at the same time, then it's not so much friction and stress. It's like, oh, this is part of the human experience that everybody has flaws and everyone's awesome and everyone's flawsome. So Underbelly Parenting, I talk about a lot with parents about tell me the things that your kids are really rocking out. Tell me what they're doing really, really well. And so someone will tell me what they're really doing well. And then I'll say, okay, what are they struggling with? What's their pain point? What's your pain point with that said child? Because if we're raising a child who's not like us, that's when we have the most problems because we can't relate to how they're dealing or managing their emotions or dealing with their stress or dealing with their schoolwork or dealing with their chores. If you're a neatnik and you have a sloppy child or a messy child, my sister cannot stand the word sloppy, then that's really hard to deal with. If you're a messier individual or more type B, nothing wrong with it, and you have a child who's very rigid and likes to rooms very organized and clean and gets stressed out if there's anything on their floor, that's very hard to deal with. And so a lot of times we get lost in the what ifs, or I wish my child was more of this, or I wish my child was more of this, or I wish my child was more of that. And I remember hearing a quote from Dr. Shafali, instead of parenting the child you wish you had, parent the child that's in front of you, accepting the as is of who they are, their essence, their spirit, their throbbing spirit. And that just really resonated with me because a lot of times we want our child to be the XYZ. And when they're not, then we think that we get a big F on our report card. So I want to go over some of the character traits of what you might want in a child and just let you know that there's an underbelly to that said child and those character traits. So what is an underbelly? I went to the Googles and Google said, underbelly means the vulnerable part, the weak part, the Achilles heel. It's the easy to attack. It's easy to criticize. So every human on this planet has an underbelly about their personality. And usually it's frick to the frack. It's the yin and the yang, meaning I gave some examples like if you have an organized, straight A child, a do-gooder, a very clean room, a good girl, a good boy, or if you were the organized, straight A, do-gooder, clean room, good girl, good boy. If you were like that as a child, you will want your children to be like that as a grown-up. When you're a grown-up, you want your children to be like that. Now, the underbelly of that child, which you probably dealt with as a child if you were this person, you might have been a bit of a control freak. Just going to say that. We can all embrace our inner control freak. I like to use the word control enthusiast. It's a little bit softer when I'm talking about myself, but I might have some of those traits. But the underbelly of the organized, straight A, do-gooder, clean room, good girl, good boy is sometimes they can be rigid. Sometimes it's hard for them to pivot. Like if plans change suddenly, that's very difficult for them. They bring a lot of stress to the table because they put so much pressure on themselves or they feel an external pressure from you or your parents or your grandparents or their teachers or their coaches or their peers. As they get older, the stress comes from external measures that are not the four walls. It's usually, it sometimes transitions from coaches to teachers to their peers. They put a lot of pressure on themselves. They always want to be on time. They never want to be running late. They never want to have their room disorganized. They are a people pleaser. They're a perfectionist. If the food touches on the plate, it's a code red emergency. That's the underbelly of an organized, straight A, do-gooder, clean room, good girl, good boy. There's nothing wrong with being organized, straight A, do-gooder, clean room, good girl, good boy. That's awesome. Just know that the underbelly of that is might be a more rigid, high-stress child. So then what is the automatic knee-jerk reaction to say, I just wish my kid would chill out, calm down, relax, go with the flow. Okay, so then God will bring you that child. And when you have a laid back, chill, compliant child, which is what we think we want, the underbelly of the compliant, laid back, chill, go with the flow kid is sometimes they can be a doormat. Sometimes people can walk all over them. Sometimes they can have the appearance of being lazy. Sometimes it takes 2 matches to put a fire under their butt, not just one match. Everything's lackadaisical. Everything's okay. Yeah, whatever. It's almost too much. So do you see how we're always trying to find that Goldilocks balance? So we want to help them if they need a fire under their butt, but also appreciate that they're compliant, laid back, and chill. Like, it doesn't have to be one or the other. Both can coexist at the same time. So the rigid child, the organized, straight A, clean room, good girl, do-gooder, that's awesome. Nothing wrong with that. Just know that the underbelly of that, if you're wishing for that, is all the things I just said. Conversely, if you're wishing for the laid back, relaxed, chill, go with the flow child, then you might have lackadaisical, always dragging them places, always dragging them to do their homework, dragging them to turn in their classwork, put their name on their paper, clean their room, get organized, brush their teeth. Get your act together is what your brain might tell you. Sometimes we might want like a sarcastic jokester kind of kid because we want a comic relief. The underbelly of that is sometimes they can blow you off. They're never serious. It's hard to have a conversation with them. There's an underbelly to every personality. This could be your spouse if they're always joking around, sarcastic. The underbelly of that is that sometimes it's hard to have a conversation with them that includes the F word. The F word being feelings. Tell me how you really feel. Let's go deep. Let's talk about this. An extroverted, social, chatty child, the underbelly of that, sometimes there's a lot more drama in their life because their social circle is so huge. They might not be great with time management because they want to do all the things and they have FOMO for everything they're missing out on. At school, they might, because they're chatty and they're Miss Personality or Mr. Personality, they might get in trouble for talking too much, not doing their work, not paying attention. They're too busy. They can never slow down. So when you realize that no matter what child you have, no matter what spouse you have, no matter who you are in this equation, because I bet you could resonate with a lot of these. I feel like I have one person as an adult and I was another person as a child, and just almost appreciate and embrace the underbelly of who you are. That allows you to embrace the underbelly of who your children are, because that's their vulnerability. That's their weak part. That's what they need to work on, but not that something's gone wrong. I promise you, if you traded your kids with another kid, if you went on kid swap or like parent swap, you would want your child back because God chose your child and your child chose you. You are divinely and so beautifully connected already, way before we got in the mix. Your child is there to help you, teach you where you need to grow. Conversely, your child is learning from you where they need to grow. And then it's the symbiotic relationship versus like, do this and do this now because I said so. It's like, oh, this chick's on my side. This dude's on my side. And when you have that connection, you'll have a lot more cooperation and you'll embrace the underbelly of yourself. And when you can embrace the underbelly of yourself, you can embrace the underbelly of your child, your spouse, and anyone living within your 4 walls. Even your animals. If you have animals in your house, I could talk about my dogs and tell you about their strengths and their underbelly. They both have them. Then we're not seeking perfection. We're seeking B-, and we're embracing the flaws, and we're embracing the awesomeness, and we're embracing the flossomeness. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Hey, mamas, thanks for listening. If you had any ahas, clicks, or those lightning bolt moments while listening, you have to check out my free parenting bootcamp, where we take all of this to the next level and we try to create even more awakenings for ourselves so that we can connect more with our kids and never yell at them again. You can sign up at www.coachingkelly.com. And if you really want to fill up my love cup, send me an email of what your aha was, what your click was, what was that lightning bolt moment while you were listening. I want nothing more in life than for you to have harmony in your home and to learn how to be an imperfect mom like me, which allows your kids to be imperfect too, each and every day. Thanks for listening.